Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Salon Stories, the podcast where we dive into the real lives and lessons behind the hair and beauty industry. Today's guest is somebody really special to me. He is not just a hugely successful stylist and brand founder, but he's somebody who's had a big influence on my own journey. Phil Smith is an award-winning hairdresser, celebrity stylist, and a real powerhouse when it comes to branding and business. He's worked with A-listers, he's launched his own haircare line, he's had more salons than I can count, and I'm also really proud to say that he has mentored me. I'm so excited to have him here to chat about everything from the early days in his career to what's coming next. So Phil, thank you so much for being here. I've been looking forward to this chat for absolutely ages, and I'm so appreciative of you for doing this. So let's go back to the very, very start and tell me, how did you get started in hairdressing in the first place?
Crazy story. First of all, thanks, Melissa. Thanks for asking me along. And to see your career flourish as it has is, again, I can only say it's lovely to watch, and good luck to you with all the success you have in the future. How did I get started? I never really had any thoughts about hairdressing throughout my school life. It was never something that ever entered that I was going to do this. I remember my mum going to a salon in Guildford in Surrey and telling me that her hairdresser drove a Porsche, and that sort of, and he had 2 holidays a year. He went skiing in the winter and he went somewhere hot in the summer. And so it was in there, it was logged in. I then left school, disastrous last year at school, failed all my exams. I discovered Wham. I wanted my hair like George Michael. Last year that's what Wham were Wham. And girls, I was living a great time. So I failed my exams. I had to go to college and resit them. And as well as at college, I met another girl who worked in a salon in Guildford on Saturdays. And my chat up line to her was, I always wanted to be a hairdresser. And that, honestly, as crazy as that sounds, that was how it happened. She then got me a Saturday job after about 3 months at Farnborough Sixth Form College, which I couldn't stand. I was just back at academic classes again. I was offered a full-time job at this salon. And at that time, I thought, this is great fun. There's music playing every day. There's fun people here. Let's have a go. And talked to my mum and dad into letting me do that. And here we are 41 years later, still doing it.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love that journey. And it's quite similar to mine, because I never wanted to be a hairdresser either. I remember being in school and everybody wants to be a hairdresser. All the girls, that was the path they wanted. And I remember so clearly thinking, oh my God, that sounds awful. That sounds so boring. Because I didn't see the career, I didn't see hairdressing as a creative pursuit, but it absolutely is. But I think it wasn't sold to me like that when I was a kid. So it's funny.
It still isn't enough. Being lucky enough, I consider my career to be right place, right time throughout it. But there's so many different career paths. If you get the skill, it takes you a couple of years of hard work, but if you got that skill, where you can go with that is just, it's limitless.
Absolutely. Yeah. And hopefully they start to teach that more in schools and teach it more as an actual career path rather than you left school, here you go here. So do you remember the first time that you realized, hang on a second, I'm actually really good at this?
I've never been really good at this. Like I say, I don't know. My hairdressing life has been right place, right time. I worked for a really good sort of old school salon for education. And I was mediocre. I wasn't setting the world on fire. I enjoyed it. I entered competitions back then, proper hairdressing competitions where you'd be in a big room competing with loads of other people. So I enjoyed it. Then I went to work for a guy called John Kahn. So I started at Raymond's, did my education there, then left and went to work with John, who was super successful. Brilliant man, kind, generous with the team, made me see hairdressing in a completely different way to what I'd been used to in my training. And then I wanted to open my own shop, and John and I were going to do a shop together because I wanted what he had. I saw what he could achieve. He had a nice car, a swimming pool. These are things that as a schoolboy you just dreamt about. Only pop stars and footballers had that sort of lifestyle. But this hairdressing guy who was nice had all this as well. So I wanted to open a shop with him. We were going to open nearby to Guildford somewhere. And he kept saying to me, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready. And wrongly, I don't know, but I then embarked on trying to do it myself behind his back because that was the only way I could. But a good friend of mine had just opened Tony and Guy in Guildford. And he said, come and meet Tony. And I I knew who Tony and Guy were as a brand, but I didn't know. I thought Tony was Anthony. And long story short, I met with Tony, and he was this little Italian guy. I went to his head office in Brentford, which was a tiny industrial unit. Because Tony got a tiny then. All of their products were being worked out of this one sort of garage, if you like, which was inspirational to see how far they came. And this little guy, bald head, came up to me, little red glasses on, and in this soft Italian voice, said, "Hey, Phil, would you like a coffee?" And I thought he was like the handyman of the building, like the tea guy or something. And I said, "No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm just waiting to see Tony," thinking I'm going to see this young Anthony with long hair come out. And he said, "I'm Tony." And we got chatting, it clicked, and I learned as I went, but I got a salon. Going back to your question, when did I think I was good at this? I don't think I'm good at it. I'm still trying to be good at it today. So I'm still trying.
That's good. I think it's always good to strive to be better. Surround yourself by people that know more than you. That's my whole philosophy. So yeah, I think you're brilliant, obviously, but it's funny that you see that yourself. So
that means Instagram.
On that, the internet isn't real, I always say, but I will say that I don't know if you even know this, but you played such a big part in my rebrand, and you're the whole reason that my business is now called Melissa Hayward Academy, because for years I worked under this kind of faceless brand of Hair Extension Training Ireland. I really hid behind it, but you really gave me the nudge to put my own name on it and step into my own brand, and that's why it's now the Melissa Hayward Academy.
But this Melissa Hayward brand. Why
Absolutely.
Would you hide behind that?
And it's been the best thing I've ever done for my business, and thank you so much for that. But
you did it. You. I think when we were talking about this, you actually knew what you had to do. You just wanted someone to say, "Yeah, you're doing. That's the right thing."
I have that Irish thing though of, "Oh God, I don't want to be seen as having notions." So but it is the best thing I've ever done. But how important do you think branding, and personal branding in particular, is these days, especially in this industry?
Oh, it's enormous. You cannot say how big it is. If you get it right now, it will determine the rest of your career. It's as simple as that. And I encourage my team to have their own little Instagram pages of their hair work. And so as much as it pains me when people leave and they go on, but all they're doing is progressing in life. And my job is to fulfill that bit of time that they've given to me and my little business, and I've got to maximize that. But I know that they're like children, they are going to flee the nest, so they've got to take some tools with them. I think if we can encourage people to do their own little branding, their own little shop, so to speak, it's their shop window, but hopefully they'll give you a little bit of loyalty when they do leave, and they won't try and ruin your business. But I think it's so important, and I've seen so many hairdressers over the years that have broken away from someone else's brand to create their own brand, and have become more successful in doing so. So absolutely, you must have your own identity. You can work within a big organization should you wish, but you must have your own identity as well. Without it, you're just making somebody else richer, both financially and you're building someone else's brand if you're not building your own.
Absolutely. And from my own point of view, I noticed when I started to put myself out there and show up on social media as myself and not hide behind this faceless brand, my bookings just went like this. Yeah. They just shot up, because I think people buy from people. And I think especially nowadays, people are maybe allergic to inauthenticity. We get the ick when you can feel that it's not real.
Yeah, I still do. My product brand was with Sainsbury's, and it lasted for 17 years as an exclusive brand. That's unheard of. I think I'm the biggest, longest running exclusive haircare brand. I've made the decision, which is a brave decision, to come out of that in the last year, because I want to grow further. Whether that's the right thing, one thing, we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. But that shows the importance of a brand. And Sainsbury's always says to me, but Sainsbury's, they've just posted profits over £1 billion. They're a monster of a company. And they said to me, "You do a job for us. Because your name is there, you are a credible brand." And that's what the consumer buys, a credible brand. They had me as their exclusive haircare for 17 years because I was a credible brand, because I had my name on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I can't agree more actually with that from Sainsbury's point of view. So in your opinion, what do you feel like it takes to go all the way in this industry, and what really sets like the real go-getters apart?
Never always say hard work. You've got to work hard. You've got to be smart. You've got to be trustworthy. you've got to be loyal. I love loyalty. And I feel the people that have left me over the years that have gone on, they've opened their own businesses, they've got their own teams now, it's because they learn, they ask questions, they put in the hours, and they're hungry. You've got to want to do it. Sadly, I don't want to sound like an old man now, and in my day it was different. But with the governments trying to convince people to vote for them, they're giving more and more away by way of benefits and working hours. You can't work this long. It kills me to hear like model nights. You can't do model nights really anymore.
Yeah.
They've got to be trained during the day because of this and that. I have to be careful what I say because you get sent to prison nowadays. So. But it's just so sad that we're stopping people that want to put in the hours and work hard. Melissa, I don't know your age, but I know your experience in this industry. My model nights used to last until 9, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. You left when you left. We were taught teamwork. So if you finished your model early, didn't mean to say you go home early. Yeah. Everyone leaves together. And I still run those sort of things now. The whole team moves together. With the thing with apprentices now, we can't afford to employ half a dozen in a site business my size. It's important that the whole team mucks in and works together and we leave the shop at the same time. So to get on, you've just got to be hungry. You've got to want it and forget what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Go after those dreams. What do you want out of this? We got a girl that left us about 2 years ago. Absolutely brilliant hairdresser, one of those talented few. And I've always said I've only ever worked with 3 people in my career that can just touch hair and make it look cool. One was Anthony, the second one was Beverly Cabela, and the third one is this girl, Annabelle. Absolutely brilliant hairdresser. And when she left us, it was a big sort of drama. But she's gone on. She now educates for Tony and Guy. I think she's the right-hand person for Cos Sakis, who's the British Hairdresser of the Year. He takes her on Fashion Week. She travels the world educating. And I get so much pride when I see her doing what she does. But she had a dream. She's hungry. And you know what? She works hard. She's shattered the whole time. It's probably had a bit of a compromise on her lifestyle, but she's achieving everything she wanted to achieve. For her, it was not about financial gain. It was just about, I want to be in that position. So it's a tricky question to answer, but find out what it is you want, which I think we all know in life what we want. And you just chase it any which way you possibly can.
Yeah, I actually really agree. I had a webinar thing there last week. It was the Entrepreneurs Accelerator thing I'd been doing for the last couple of years. And we had a webinar about that. And there was some people coming into the program just asking questions. And one of the things that came up was that it was like, what makes you make it as an entrepreneur or in business? And the big thing we landed on was that we do what we say we're going to do, because there's all these people that come in that say, oh, they go straight to the pool and the Lamborghini and skip the work it takes to get there. They want the passive income. They want the big business. But I remember working with a different mentor before, and she said, I love working with you because you say what you do what you say you're going to do. And it was a real kind of light bulb moment for me, because I didn't realize there was another option. I didn't realize I was allowed not to do the things I was going to do. But they said that the other guys that were on this thing were saying that a lot of people, they're like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to mentor you. You just need to do this and this, and then come back to me next week and we'll move on. And then they come back next week and there's always an excuse about, oh, I couldn't because this happened or that happened or the other thing happened. And I think that's it. But I'm not an advocate for the whole grind set thing, but I know what you're like. You know, the last year I basically ghosted everybody I know because I didn't have time for them. So there is definitely a balance. I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing to.
Do you know what? I find that nothing pains me more to see someone with super talent that comes back with excuses why I didn't do that. I couldn't do that. That I don't want to swear. Bollocks. If you want to do something, you just do it. You do find a way. Entrepreneurial to me is someone that changes their mind constantly. There's so that direction. You're just constantly looking for ways to be successful. And so you're a mind changer. That's how I determine someone that I know is going to be successful in life, not just financially, but successful. They're just going off in different directions, but they're always moving forward. And your path finds you, not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant.
I remember 20 years ago now, probably a bit longer than that, I loved boats. It was an aspirational thing of mine to have a boat. And everybody said, you're just a hairdresser. You can't do these things. And I had this business model that I worked out in my head, how my first Tony Guy franchise was a complete failure. And we were close to bankruptcy within less than a year of opening, but I knew why, which is the crazy thing. But I was in a town, I'd chosen a city that was quite small. And so I had a gut feel. There was a dozen Tony Guy shops open at this point, and everyone used to talk amongst each other how much you were doing turnover wise and so on. And I just picked out the ones that were successful had populations of 100, 150,000 people. So I begged, borrowed and stole and got Tony Muscola to allow me to open a second salon. And he actually said, but you're about to go bankrupt, so you're going to lose this business. And I said, but if I can get that one open, Tony, it's close to Salisbury. I can then feed cash back to Salisbury to keep that going and make money. And my formulation worked. Anyway, long story short, I wanted a boat. And after about 10 shops, I knew I worked back. So I knew this boat was, I don't know, best part of £1 million that I wanted to buy. How many franchises did I need and how many shares in each shop did I have to have? And how quickly do I have to get them into profit and what profit do they need to make in order for me to repay a mortgage on a boat? And I did it. It took me 18 months, 2 years to get there, but I set myself a goal and I did it. So what you've just said there is there are talkers. There is also doers. Be a doer. Get it done. Do what you say you're going to do. Everyone hates President Trump, but by God, he is doing what he said he's going to do. You cannot fault the guy for that. In a buffoon way, he's getting the job done.
But I agree with that as well. I think that having goals set, what I always say to my students is that if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? And it's like getting in a taxi and just telling them to drive. Like you're going to end up somewhere you don't want to go and it's going to cost you loads of money. So I think having that goal to get the boat is so important. And it's something I actually do with my students. I make them sit down and set a goal for next year. What do you want to earn? Okay, let's work backwards. How many heads of hair extensions do you need to do that? And there's absolutely no shade, because when I started my business, my hair extension salon years ago, this is like 2002 or 2003, I literally picked a number out of the air and I said, hair extensions sound like they should be about that. I had no idea what my overheads were, what my costs were, what my profits were. Somebody would pay me €500 for hair extensions and I think, oh, I made €500 there. I did in my arse make €500. Do you know, I had no idea about the business side of things. So I try to teach my students now to learn from my mistakes and understand all this, because the numbers and the goals are so important.
Can you see your students come along though? I bet you can see the ones that are going to do well and the ones that are not.
Absolutely. It's the ones that do it.
Yeah, I know it's not nice to have negative thoughts about certain people, but you can waste so much good energy trying to make someone do something that they don't want to do it. That's why they're not doing it. But I'd much rather put my energy now into people that do. I get more satisfaction seeing others do well now than I ever did seeing myself win an award or whatever. I love seeing other people do well.
Absolutely. It is my favorite thing in the world. Seeing my students grow their businesses and open second businesses. And it genuinely brings me the most joy in the world, more than, as you said, winning awards and stuff myself. It's actually them doing well. That's amazing. And actually, on the subject of awards, you have won so many ridiculous amount of awards. So is there any that stands out in particular to you? Is there a favorite one? Is there one that meant the most to you?
They all do, really. Do you know what? I was obsessed with awards because I went through school without winning anything. I got some certificates for swimming 25 meters once when I was really little, but I just never excelled at anything at school. When I joined Tony and Guy, I remember there was a salon in Guildford called Clippers, and they had an array of superstar hairdressers working there. Some really good people. And in the days, that was when that British Hairdressing Awards were really young, and you had to pay like £10 to enter. And one of the guys from Clippers had entered, and I'm like, God, he's in the British Hairdressing Awards. I had known it was enormous. And then when I joined Tony and Guy, they invited me. We had a table of 10 because there was 5 franchisees and Tony, Pauline, Sasha, Anthony, Pat. And I think Sasha won Newcomer of the Year that year. And I'm sure Anthony won British Hairdresser of the Year. So my first outing to the British Hairdressing Awards was seeing those guys win that. And I could not believe my luck that I'm part of this group that an award would be great. Then the next year I entered Wales and South West. So that one was my first win. I entered it. won it, but became completely arrogant and not obnoxious, but because it was easy. I entered this award. We used Vivienne Westwood clothes for the picture. Anthony Moscato took pictures. If I'd have lost that, I'd have been a complete lunatic. But so that one stood out. And then because I thought this was easy, it took me another 5 years just to finalize again. I entered every year and didn't even make the final. So that brought me right back down to earth in the bum. If you want this, you've got to earn it. You got to work it. So I then started planning things. So that one stood out. That was the first one I ever won, British Wales Southwest Hairdresser of the Year. I also won a reward in Australia. I've got a real passion for Australia, and I had some salons there. And it was a difficult place to run because it's so far away. And just to give you an insight, I'd fly out of Heathrow on a Sunday night, land in Sydney on a Tuesday morning. It's a 24-hour time difference. So it'd be a direct flight, stopping either Bangkok or Singapore for a couple of hours. Get to Sydney 5 o'clock Tuesday morning. I would work Tuesday. I would work Wednesday and then come home Wednesday night from Sydney. I'll be back in my salon on a Friday here. So I used to do that 4, 5, 6 times a year. And so it was a difficult business to run, but we had a fair amount of success there. But it was towards the end of my time in Australia. They had the fellowship for Australian hairdressing. I got invited to, as a guest. I was in Sydney at the time working, and they said, would you like to come to the fellowship awards? Well, I said, to be honest, I'm shattered, I'm tired, I'm jet lagged, and I go home tomorrow morning. I can't make it. And I can't remember the lady's name. She's lovely, but she said, it's going to be a fantastic night, Phil. We normally do it at the town hall in Sydney, which is a lovely building. But this year, the town hall's been refurbished, and we've got the Sydney Opera House. We're doing the awards in the Sydney Opera House. And that's my favourite building in the world, the Sydney Opera House. And I said, just on that basis, yeah, go on then, because it's not going to be every day you get asked to go to the Sydney Opera House. So I had no idea I was going to get something. And then halfway through the speech, they started talking about international hairdressing, how it has an impact on British hairdressing, and how it has an impact on international hairdressing. And then they just said, you think this was 2009, the person that we'd like to give this award to this year is Excel, and blah, 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 blah. And then they called my name out, and I absolutely got it. So I got an award, gorgeous big tall award, in the Sydney Opera House. So that one was amazing as well. But if I can just say as well, my son won Men's Hairdresser of the Year. I think it was 22 or 23. By far, my favourite award. It wasn't an award win for me, but my favourite moment at any awards was that blew me away. And I can get about it.
That's so beautiful. I love that. What a cool adventure and story. That's amazing. I didn't know that. It's so cool.
It's been good. I've been lucky.
That's incredible.
I've been lucky. But I still love winning awards. I won something last year, which I never thought I was going to get again. It was their Business Director of the Year. I won it in 2001, and it was the day before those towers came down in America.
Wow.
And, so I remember that's how far back it was. And I tried every year since to win it again. And I failed. I've been finalist a dozen times, failed. And I just think that it just shows you've just got it. If you want something, you keep going. And you get failure, setback, but you keep going if it's something you want enough. Trouble is now I want it again. I want to win it again. So I'm certainly not tired of awards. I like them. I think there could be probably a bit too many going on now, but but I also think it's such a fantastic industry. People certainly should be rewarded and acknowledged for all that we're doing because we are an important industry.
Yeah.
So they're my 2 favorite ones, but my sons win.
I love that.
Yeah. Amazing.
I love that. And I actually really relate to that winning awards thing. And I always have to tell myself winning doesn't mean you're the best, losing doesn't mean you're not. But it's very similar. And I think it's rife in this industry, to be honest. A lot of us had a hard time at school and have a kind of an almost chip on our shoulders about that. So I'm the same. I didn't finish school. Now, looking back, I know it's because I'm autistic. I didn't know I was autistic when I was a kid. So I wasn't diagnosed till I was a grown-up. So school was really tough for me. And I left feeling really ashamed about that. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my partner. I think that's why I'm so obsessed with education now.
Do you know who you are now, though?
Like 1,000,000%. And I think that it doesn't matter. And there's lots of different paths. Like I have a postgraduate degree now. I have multiple teaching qualifications because I'm obsessed with education. I love learning. I never stop learning. But it's just the school system wasn't set up for me for that. But
No.
I think it is a big, not a problem, but it's definitely something in our industry that a lot of my students say, oh, I'm stupid. Or they say, oh, I didn't even finish school, sure, I'm stupid. And I'm on like a one woman kind of mission to change that and make people realize there's lots and lots of different paths. And I think
Yeah.
neurodiversity even is incredibly rife in this industry. I think
Yeah.
nearly like the majority
Absolutely.
of hairdressers have at least ADHD, if not something else. So I think
Yeah,
there
I,
is.
I don't think you're wrong, but you know what, not similar to you, but failed school terribly. It just wasn't for me. I loved being there because I loved the social side, but it wasn't for me. And I just thought I was a bit of a failure.
Yeah,
Um, I
same.
didn't know what a failure meant at that point of my life, but I look back and I did feel that I came away from school with nothing. And I've now found something that I enjoy still after 40 years of doing this, 41 years doing this. I've had so many setbacks doing this, but I still get up every day.
Yeah.
I like to go to work, and I hope that never changes. I don't want to be one of those that stop. I want
No.
to keep going. What else do you do?
Well, I can't even imagine stopping. Yeah. What else would you
I
do?
thought I
Would you,
wanted to. I thought retirement was my goal, but it terrifies me now stopping. Yeah, I want to carry on.
no, I can't imagine. I actually can't imagine. Look, no, thank you. I need to slow down a little bit, but maybe not stop.
No, you don't.
Jesus.
No, you're on a wave. I always said that, and I don't want to sound like all of these like surfy dudes, but every single one of us has our wave.
Yeah.
It's like all those surfers waiting out beyond the break, and they're waiting for a wave to carry them in. We all know our wave, and when it happens, you got to ride it the whole way to shore. Don't come
Yeah.
off it.
Oh God, no. No.
These are so rare.
No, I do my job for free. I hope
Yeah.
nobody's listening to that, but I would. I absolutely love what I do. I absolutely adore my job, and it doesn't feel like a job because I love
Yeah.
it. And I feel so lucky for that because I know people that they work for just to make money, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
The
But
industry, it is an enjoyable industry. And,
it
the
is.
fact that you can make a fantastic living.
You're
Well,
making other people feel good about themselves, and that makes you feel good about yourself. And at the end of the day, you're just hanging out and nattering all day. It's
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
job in the world.
Yeah.
So, no, we're very lucky. Your kids are in the industry too, Phil.
Yeah.
But what do you hope that the future of hairdressing looks like for their generation?
Future hairdressing, that's a tricky one. We're at such a crossroads, aren't we now? I love the fact that hairdressing is diverse in business, as in you can be self-employed, you can run a hair extension company, you can run a trichology company. There's so many things. You can be a session stylist, you can be a salon owner, you can be a regular 9 till 5 hairdresser. You can do anything you want to do. You can be a home hairdresser. So I hope that continues. I hope self-employment flourishes. I really do, because it's become such an important thing. I also hope we don't lose employed salons. And
Yes.
the only reason we're losing employed salons now, and the difference is quite vast, is because of a VAT threshold. That does need to be addressed. It needs to be a level playing field for both. I'm not saying the government have to lower VAT for salon owners, but they need to give certain tax breaks based on turnover to small businesses as well, much to hairdressing, to small business. So I hope the industry remains diverse for them. I hope they continue. They're both very passionate kids. I didn't have a private education, and I worked super hard to give them a private education. I don't know why I did that, but at the time it seemed right. It was an aspirational goal, and I did it. It was expensive and financially crippled me throughout their whole school life. But I'm proud I did that. It's given them great common sense. It's given them work ethic, and their ability to get on in life, I think, has been improved because I gave them that. So they're now using that. My son, who's just turned 27, has won awards everywhere. He's won an award in Australia, in America, in the UK, awards. His trophy cabinet's better than mine. My daughter is now stepping out of the shadows. She's always been a great behind the scenes person. She manages our salon, Ellie, and does a great job. She's shattered. She's raising 2 kids, but she works damn hard. And which is, again, another one of my greatest successes, seeing them work hard, because they could quite easily play the my dad's doing okay card and I can take my foot off the bill, but they don't. The things they've got, they work hard for them. I love seeing that. So I would love the future for them to be a little bit more of a level playing field within salons. I still believe in salons to the point where I'm actually going through a physical exercise now with the family to open more at a time when people are shutting them. I think we've got 4 people here, my wife, my son and my daughter and me. Why can't we be in 4 different salons working for different salons within our area? I don't think we should be too far apart, but certainly where we can feed staff to each other. And I think when the world is changing, that's when the biggest opportunities are there. I might be wrong. We might sit down in 5 years and talk and it's been a big disaster, but I am really serious about now opening another 3 salons. So I would like that future to be for them. And what was the question again? Is how do I want to see the future of hairdressing?
Yeah. What do you hope that the future looks like for your kids? But I think that's a really good answer. And that's so exciting. 4 new salons. It's great.
3 new salons.
3 new salons. Yeah, of course.
So it's certainly trickier, but I do think there's options. I think we're seeing a bit of a swing back where people have been self-employed, where they've got uncertainty in that, and they now want the certainty of a job again with regular income and so on. So I'm noticing that a lot more. So that's why I think now is the time to get in at the start and set that work. So I want my kids to remain passionate. That's all, hungry, and I want them to want more of everything.
I think it sounds like they're doing pretty well. That's fantastic. Well done. Congratulations.
My daughter, I should say this. She's just been, she won a place on Revlon. They have a thing called the Visionaires. So they have 4 people every year. It's a bit like the Fame team or something like that, where they choose people from all over the country to get together. They go off, they educate, they get educated, they learn stage skills. They're off to Paris soon to work at the Academy of Revlon in Paris. So like I said, she's now stepping out of the shadows and she's experiencing more. She did a Salon International last year. She went on stage and was amazing. So I proud moments. I did a shoot on Monday, which is the first shoot I've done for about 3 or 4 years. So it was a bit weird for me to get back doing that again, but it was for, I've got some new products coming out soon. We have to update the website and so on. So we wanted to, instead of buying the shots off the internet, we produce credible, everything is, and both Ellie and George came with me on that, and we did some hair together. And
cool. Amazing.
That's why I think I still love what I do, because I get to work with them. And,
that's gorgeous.
Not many parents can say they get to see their kids every day.
No hope in hell for me. My son's a musician. There's no interest in hair whatsoever.
Mind you, if he's a musician, that could be good fun as well. I'd like you see them do well. How old is he?
He's 19. 20. Sorry, he's 20 on Friday.
God, really? So you're older than I thought you were then.
Oh yeah, I'm very old. I feel it.
What does he play?
Everything really. Guitar, bass. He's recently got into singing vocals, but it's like metal singing.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, hopefully. We'll see. He told me he's taking a year off next year to do an album. I'm wondering who's funding that.
Yeah, amazing. Good for him. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's cool. So tell me a little bit about the haircare brand that you're launching in June that you did the shoot for.
Yeah, I worked with my brand. Like I said, I was with Sainsbury's for a long time, and I saw that Touchwood did okay. I've always wanted more, and I wanted the brand to grow. And I think it got to a point where I was doing electrical products with Sainsbury's and Argos. I had hair accessories, and I had my shampoo, conditioner, and some styling products. And we got to a level for the last, up until COVID, we were doing the same sort of turnover for the last few years. And it was a decent sized little business. But I've always been inspired by Tony and Guy, by John Frieda, by Charles Worthington, by Terry Sirocki at Fudge. All these people, they built a business, and this is my business ambition. My sole ambition left now is to build a business that someone else wants to buy. And whether you sell it for £1 or £1 million or £10 million, doesn't matter. It's just, I want something, somebody else wants to buy it. So I've got to get something to a certain size before I can then do no more with it. Sadly, sunflower oil, which is one of the key ingredients in my products, in most hair care products, it came from Russia or Ukraine. So we then had a war to contend with on top of COVID. We then had some of my stuff was shipped from China, the accessories, the brushes, and we had these boats that were saying they were going to be delivering stock, let's say in January. They were then attacked by rebels in these canals, and the boats then had to go around South Africa. and up. So you added like an extra 6 weeks onto your journey. So the stock that was supposed to be delivered on the 1st of January is now being delivered third week of February. So it was just problem after problem after problem. I was borrowing heavily, always had to carry around £1 million worth of stock at any one time, which I would own outright. But then I then had £1 million worth of debt, and we got through it. It was a successful time. You then had to cope with coming out of COVID because you then had too much stock. The supermarkets then didn't need all that stock, so you had to sell some of it on other markets. So I went to some of the discounters, sold some stock through them. But what I realized is I can't do this on my own. I'm struggling, not mentally, I think that's the wrong word, but it was very stressful. But I was struggling. I hated having debt. I'd had debt throughout my Tony and Guy career, opening salons, and we were making great money, but I always had debt. And I got to a place where I had no more debt anymore. And now all of a sudden I'm borrowing money. And the only way I couldn't grow my business any further was to then put my house on the line. And at the age of, I'm 57 this year, so at the age of 54, I didn't want to gamble. Everything I'd worked for to grow something that probably didn't need growing. It was doing okay, but it was my ambition to get it to a place where someone would buy it. I hunted around and I found myself a business partner. Who's a lovely man. He's a warm man. He's a Spanish entrepreneur. He distributes brands. So I was very careful how I chose somebody, what they could bring to the table. I had lots of people that said they would lend me them or invest money by 20%, 30%, hugely successful businessmen. But I needed someone that could actually do a bit more for this. I had no idea how to sell more stock in overseas, in Europe, in America. No idea at all. I knew how to do it in UK. But what I also couldn't do was get into the doors of Boots, Waitrose, Tesco, Asda. All I knew was Sainsbury's. I'd been spoiled, if you like. So this guy, he distributes brands. His main business is distribution. And he distributes anything from Original Source shower gel to Bayliss and Harding to Revolution Beauty, Saint-Tropez, Fake Tan. So he does Vaseline. He distributes brands for a lot of huge companies. So I was privileged that he was even interested in doing one. But he wanted, in his eyes, he had brands that he grew, but he didn't own them. They'd be sold and he would lose the distribution. So he wanted to start taking ownership in various brands. So I took my brand to him and he's taking a stake in my company and he has taken over this sort of financial worry for me. So I've managed to get something into a place where I'm not financially responsible, although I've got a great chance to make some good money here. So he said to me, you've got this brand, it's called Everyday Expert. We've got these accessories and got some electrical products. Let's do another brand. He said, this is an entry-level budget brand, because that's what I was for Sainsbury's. I was Jamie Oliver. I was entry-level, achievable, aspirational brand. So he said to me, go away, come back to me with a brand that would be your dream product. And so I then did loads of research. I know brands that have done well, that have succeeded in life. The Ordinary is a skincare makeup brand. I've followed the story of the guy that set that up, who's tragically, sadly, no longer with us. But I love the concept of that. I love the ingredient story of that. And I started playing around with the ingredients. I then worked with a factory that was close to me here in Salisbury, the Hut Group. Everyone's heard of the Hut Group, do super well. They make products. They make brands like Elemis, a haircare brand called Grow Gorgeous, another one called Christophe Laban. They do all those. So they've got some great chemists. So I've teamed up with them. I begged them to work with me and let's start playing with ingredients, what we can do. What does salicylic acid do to hair? What does hyaluronic acid do? What about biotin? And on all these different ingredients, how they would work with hair. And I then went back to my business partner and said, this is what I would love to do. This is how I would like it to look. And he said, love it. Let's make it. So it's like a dream scenario for me, probably not for him because he's paying for it. It's a dream scenario for me. And then we had the concept, the mock-ups, the ingredient story and some samples. And we then went out on this sort of road trip, if you like, trying to sell it. And the first company we approached was Tesco, funny enough, because they are the biggest hair care retailer in the UK. Apart from, as a grocer, they're the biggest making. So we start at the top and work our way down. So we went there and then they liked it. They wanted to see a little bit more. So we did a bit more work, went back. And then for the third visit last, I don't know, June, July, they said, yeah, we love this. We want to do this. And so So if you can hear yawning, it's my dog, by the way. Don't you?
I know, I love it.
It's not me whimpering. So anyway, long story short, Tesco are launching on the 23rd of June this year. Right now, going through absolute hell with manufacturing problems. Tesco came to us with a fantastic opportunity to roll this brand out. And then they came to us about 2 and 3 months ago saying, actually, the amount of stores we initially said, we're going to treble that. So you're going into 600 odd stores, which causes manufacturing problems. And if you understand how products are made, you'll understand what I'm saying, but it's too long-winded and boring. But you've then got to make all the stock, and you've got to have what we call replenishment stock, because they order every single day and you just can't have enough stock. It's a cash flow nightmare, which is why I don't anymore. But anyway, so it's launching in Tesco's. We've got a great traction with Boots, and I'm back in Boots on June the 4th this year to do their range reviews there every February. So we're looking strong for a February 26th launch in Boots, and also Waitrose. So that's from this country. I've been on a bit of a European tour. We've already gone live in Poland with my other brand, and then my professional brand is going live in October in Poland, in over 1,600 stores there. I'm in Spain now, throughout Spain and Portugal. So lots of good things happening. Also Saudi Arabia, we've launched into. And all these I could never have done on my own. I needed someone's knowledge, help. And so I've lost a bit of my ownership and freedom. But at the same time, I'm gaining more. I'm gaining something that I think could be in a position that someone would want to buy.
1,000,000%. Yeah. And that's something that I really learned. Yeah, it's that. So the thing that I've always been a sole founder, it's always been me. And I think in the last few years, I realized you do need somebody else, because from the point of view of somebody that might buy your company, if Phil Smith gets hit by a bus, that's it. So if they need someone else as well, and I think you're more likely to burn out. And I think having somebody else as well with their own experiences, as you said, you could have done this. You could have got into those countries.
You know, I look back, and my saying while I was with Tony and guys, the more you share, the more you gain. And I did that. I had franchise partners in most of my shops, and I would lend them the money initially to get their shares, and I would guarantee the loans for them and help them on their way. And but all along, I'm winning over here by helping there. And why I didn't do that in my product life 10 years ago, I don't know. But I don't know if it's because I actually own something myself, and I quite like that feeling.
Same.
I wish to God I would have shared it 10, 15 years ago, because I'd gone well with Lee Stafford, and he managed to exit his brand last year, the year before, and super well financially, and is now living a dream existence. He's involved in the brand. He does PR and Instagram and all that. That's part of the deal. But so I wish him all the best. He's a good lad. He's worked hard for his reward. Charles Wenton is a massive hero of mine. He's one of the few people I go googie with. I can't speak when he's around. I just have so much admiration. But he did super well when he exited his brand. And I think some people see it as a sellout. I see things on Facebook, whereas if you have your own brand, you're a sellout. But my God, tell me one person that if they're given an opportunity to do something like this, I don't think I know a hairdresser that hasn't got a tiny bit of an ego. Everyone's got a bit of an ego. Reality, having your name on a product is a great thing. I see it more as a business thing now as opposed to an ego thing. It's a money-making thing for me. But I said to you about Tesco earlier on about branding. It's an incredible brand. That's the one thing that I do, and that's what Tesco love, is they've got all these different brands, from L'Oreal LV to Aussie to, I don't know, I think it's called Monday, Pantene, Head and Shoulders, but not one of their brands is credible. Not one of them has a working person behind it. And on the new packs, we've got, I'll show you, I've got a pack.
Oh, cool, yeah.
It's only a mock-up, but this is, you see that? So it's got like an ordinary feel to it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Called Freshly Hair Care. And you've got like a QR code here.
Right.
So in store, you go onto the QR code, and they'll go to a video of me saying, "Hi, I'm Phil Smith. Thanks so much for buying this product. This will do this and this to your hair, and it contains salicylic acid, and which is fantastic for your scalp, and so on." So literally a quick, short, punchy 10-second video. So that brings credible to life and cements that you must have your own credibility, your own page, your own brand. And
I love it. I'm so excited for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, hopefully, God willing, it does okay, and we can enjoy the journey.
No, it sounds from everything I've learned in the last few years doing all these like business accelerator courses, I think you're absolutely on the right track. You're doing everything right. And I think my dream is very similar to yours. I do want to eventually sell my company and then invest in other businesses.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's my big dream. So yeah, well done. Absolutely fantastic. So we're just gonna quickly read a Reddit Am I the Asshole story based
Yep.
in the hair and beauty industry, and we'll decide together if they are an asshole or not. So this one says, Am I the asshole for leaving a hairdresser after I was late? I booked in with a new hairstylist. I was running about 10 to 15 minutes late. Not great, but traffic light happened, so I messaged her to give her the heads up. When I got to the salon, surprise, the door was locked. No code, no instructions, no, hey, there's how you get inside. I was just standing there like an awkward little goblin outside the building, texting her for help. She admitted to forgetting to send me the entrance instructions. She took a few minutes to respond, and by the time I actually entered the salon, found her little unit, etc., I was closer to 15 minutes late. Fine, whatever, I'm finally here. Now, you think the first interaction would be something like, hey, I'm so sorry about the door, or no worries, glad you make it. Lol, no. Instead, this woman, who, reminder, I've never met, sits me down and immediately hits me with, just so you know, if you're this late again, I won't have time to see you. Followed by calling me sweets in the most condescending tone, not even touching my hair. She is wasting more time lecturing me. She has an attitude now and tells me I'm wrong when I say it took her a few minutes to respond. And she tells me her phone, which says she replied a minute after my message, but my phone says 3 minutes. So I say, you're wasting minutes doing this. At this point, my soul straight up left my body. I politely said, yes, I was late, but I had messaged. And also maybe the abandoned outside the element situation didn't exactly help. I even offered to shorten the service if she needed. But between the locked door, the passive aggressive lecture, the attitude and the sweets that felt more like a slap, I realized I don't need this. I tell her the vibe wasn't good between us and not conducive to a good rapport, nor is the relationship worth having. So I left. I didn't pay. I didn't pass go. I didn't offer a consolation. I didn't rebook. I just grabbed my stuff and headed home. I told my friends and they're joking that I went full Karen for walking out. So now I'm second guessing myself. Am I the asshole for walking out of a hair appointment after being locked out, getting attitude and deciding my peace was worth more than this?
No,
What? No.
no. And it's frustrating and it's annoying and it throws your day out and so on. But that is the job. Let's be honest. The role ain't perfect. I think we're so lucky that people want to come to us to have their hair done, and you should treat them like gold dust. Every single client is gold dust, and you should fall over yourself to make them feel wanted, loved, appreciated. That's your job. So no, you're not an asshole.
Yeah, I agree. I always think that people don't have enough anxiety, like the clients and the stylist. Like, I'd be there half an hour early. I'd make sure that she had the details on how to get in. So that's when people act like this, I'm like, oh my God, you just don't have enough anxiety. But is there anything that you do in your salon? Is there a grace period for lateness? What do you do to deal with that? Because it is going to happen.
It's typical. If a client's super, super late, you could probably get someone to help you maybe blow dry them out. But it's always been that way for me. We've run a business. I remember years ago when I'd do 18 clients a day, and I would run behind 20 minutes, 30 minutes, every single client. Tony would teach us, if you're running late, the client comes in, they want almost you to be running late because they feel like they're in the right place. If they're sat in a busy environment, they'll feel like that's okay. And they're watching what's going on. Everyone loves people watching, as long as they've got a nice coffee and they've been talked to. See,
Yeah.
hi, Mrs. Such or Mr. Such and Such. I'm so sorry, I'm running 20 minutes late. I can't rush this person. You should never rush someone to start another. Bear with me and see if I'm pissing somebody off because I'm running, and I always run late. I still cut hair. I give them a pot of shampoo as a sorry at the end because I know how much that's cost me to give that away. I think if you're nice and you have a good rapport, but we run late more than they run late. So I just think it's just one of those things you just got to deal with. Can't stand places that say you can't come in unless you're 15, 20 minutes late. That said, I hate being late for anything.
Oh, the
Forest
worst.
that.
Yeah.
That causes anxiety to me if I'm running behind, and you shouldn't. I think if you're a deliberate, what's the phrase I'm trying to say? If you think it's okay to waste someone else's time, then you're not a nice person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I respect people's time so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're both assholes, to be honest, but the stylist is definitely an asshole in this case. I think she could have dealt
Yeah.
with it better.
Absolutely.
Like, I used to be honest, when I first started, I used to try control these things and say, there's a deposit and you have to pay me in full if you don't turn up. But you just have to, I found
Well, I think
it's
that's
always
a
going to
fair
happen.
comment. That's a fair comment. We do that now. If people don't turn up or they cancel within an hour of their appointment, we charge. Because I would, if I booked a restaurant, if I booked anything, I don't even go to it. But as long as if you give fair notice, then fine. But if you book a flight and you miss your flight, does the airline give you your money back? Do they not?
Yeah,
They
it
don't
shouldn't,
give you
because
money.
it is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I think that the way sitting your client down and giving her a lecture is gross.
Yeah.
So some quick questions. We're nearly done here, Phil. So first thing I want to know is tell me about your dogs. I can hear one of them in the background.
The dogs. So I've got, we had two, we lost one sadly.
Sorry.
His brother, he's nearly 15 years old. He's called Smudge. I love bits. He's my shadow. He can't see too well and he can't hear much, but he's literally with me constantly. And to the point where I'm not really traveling anymore. And if I do go, if I have to go to Spain or something for work, I go for a day. I get it all done in a day. I come home again because I miss him and I hate for something to happen and I'm not there for him.
Yeah.
I've got a little puppy who's 15 months old now. Absolute crazy ass. Loves to roll in clock shit and chases anyone and everything. But he's great fun. So I go out for a walk with them when I'm tormented because I'm running after the puppy trying to get him back. And I'm then trying to get the older one to keep up with me as I'm running after it. It's good fun. I didn't have it any other way. By far the best thing I've ever done in my whole life is having a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, as we've pointed out, as we get older, do let you down. And as much as I love seeing people do well, and so on, I've also had my fair share of people treating you badly, in my opinion. And so dogs are just perfect.
Yeah, their only ingredient is love. That's what I always say. I love dogs more than people probably.
But do you know what? A vet, he's now a friend of Doggy's vet, but I went to his house not so long ago, and he lives on a farm, and he has about 7 dogs, all different breeds, big ones, little ones, and they follow him everywhere. Wherever he walks, through the house, outside in the grounds, the dogs follow him, and it's just this fantastic story. I see that, and I see myself as that sort of person. If I was never doing hairdressing anymore, and if I ever made a lot of money, I would love to buy a big farm with 1,000 acres and just have it as a dog sanctuary for little dogs and not one.
Yeah.
And I was ready to do the marathon this year, but my training, I couldn't do it with my calf. I had a bad muscle pull. But I was going to raise the money for a girl called Janie the vet, and she's someone on Instagram who gave up her life in the UK, and she's in Singapore somewhere, and she rescues street dogs. And if you follow her on Instagram, the things she does, one she put on yesterday, it's horrific. This poor little dog, but how she operates on them and does all this voluntarily. Wow. She's got this great team of people. And I wanted to raise 2 or 3 grand and say, this is not for your practice. This is for you guys to go out and have a night out. And
that's gorgeous.
What they do is stunning, brilliant.
That's so cool. Yeah. Dogs. Have you ever considered launching like a dog-friendly hair care line?
I tried. My 2 original Western Smithy and Smudge, they call it. So I trademarked a brand called Smithy and Smudge, and it was a shampoo for dogs with problem skin because Western's have notoriously itchy. And so I've got this fantastic formulation. Any skin problem, tea tree oil is one of the best things you can use. So I've got this lovely intensive tea tree oil shampoo, but then a lovely angle conditioner, get the tangles out and knot it. The hair, I couldn't get it launched. So I tried really hard. But it's still an idea. I had the branding, everything was cool. And answer your question, I've tried, and I will probably try again at some point.
So this is similar to this. Years ago, I used to have a soap brand, so I'm obsessed with making soap. It's like super interesting. It's super dangerous. It's like Fight Club. So I used to make soap. And I remember I made a range of like dog shampoo, solid soap bars, just like in my kitchen. I'd sell them at craft fairs and stuff. But I remember I made this range before and they were super cute. They were gorgeous. They had tea tree oil in them. And I dropped them around to my local vets and they were selling them for me on the counter. Yeah. And I remember I got a voicemail one day asking me to collect them because they were really like short with me. And I was like, oh my God, what the hell? What's happened? And I had labeled about 100 soap bars, Phil. Instead of saying insect repellent, they said incest repellent. I'm skipped 20 years ago and I'm still
You know,
dying.
do you know what? The concept was a tricky market.
Yeah.
I would love to have a little doggy shampoo range. It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Maybe it's something
Yeah.
to, and maybe some of the money could go towards that lovely sanctuary place you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a bit. I know you've worked with loads and loads of celebrities, but is there somebody you haven't worked with who's like your dream client to
Well,
work with?
do you know what? I've done my fair share of celebrities, and I used to be one of those in awe of celebrity type people in my young days. But then throughout your career, you get to see people and work with people, and you just know that they're people. I don't know, who would I have liked to have done that? Let's think of Kendall Jenner. I'm going to work with Kendall Jenner because she's just beautiful, and whatever you did to the hair, she would make it great. She'd be easy to work with. Bridget Bardot is my absolute fashion icon, and I have several pieces of art from the Terry O'Neill shot and so on with Bridget Bardot. So I suppose she would be my absolute must if I could choose anybody. I've also done lots of male clients as well. Robert Plant was a client of mine for about 10 years. I'm from Led Zeppelin, lovely man. Vernon Kay, Chris Moyles, to name but a few. I still see them on a regular basis. Chris Martin from Coldplay is someone who I absolutely love to cut his hair, just because they're a good show band. But yeah, Bridget Bardot would be the...
Cool.
There's nobody probably in the fashion world that more beautiful than Bridget Bardot.
Great. Fantastic answer. Coffee order. What's your go-to coffee order? You drink
Soy
coffee?
latte currently. I changed my coffee quite a lot. I went through, I had a cholesterol problem a few years back. And someone said to me, if you take dairy out of your diet, and if you take loads of omega oils, you bring your cholesterol back, which I did. And then I've got really healthy cholesterol now. So I stopped drinking milk, but I do like coffee with milk.
Yeah.
So I moved on to oat milk, because I thought it was the thing to do.
Oat milk's amazing.
Yeah, but it's terrible for you. Honestly, I had no idea. I thought I was being like really cool and hip and trendy and health conscious. But no, it's really bad. Read up what it does to you. But soy milk is great for you. So it's got a bit of a weird taste.
Yeah.
But you get used to it. You do it for... You hear him?
Yeah, I love it.
I'll tell you in a minute. He knows it's walk time. So I've been on soy milk for about 6 months now, and I love the taste now. So sometimes I go for like Americano with soy milk, but I'm running quite a lot again at the moment. So I've got an excuse to have lots of milk.
Right.
So soy milk.
I'm not gonna read about. I've been vegan for 30-something years, and soy milk was my thing for years. I got onto oat milk a few years ago, and just soy milk tastes gross to me now. So I'm just gonna be. I was gonna put on the blinkers.
You need to do it for a week.
Yeah.
And you got to say to yourself, oat milk's bad for me. It's bad for you. You're doing yourself more harm. Oat milk's got to go. It's bad.
I'll read about it. Okay, so finally, my last question for you, and then you can bring the dog for a walk, is what advice would you give your younger self starting out in the industry? Because I think we can all learn from each other's mistakes and learn from each other.
Nothing really. I just say, do it. Exactly. I wouldn't change too much. I've been so lucky. It's been a fantastic time. I've achieved the material things that I never dreamt possible when I was a young lad. What I would do is on my product, I've already said this, I would have brought in an investor much earlier. I should have done it at the start with an investor. The people that have won the best out of products had investors. That's the only thing that I would have done differently is bring an investor. But then would I? Because by having my own control, I've managed to do the things that I wanted to do and live the life that I've lived. And it's been good fun. So it's downsides, God, huge bumps. It's been how we've lived has been difficult in our marriage. And here we are, been married 30 years and we're still going, and the kids work with us. And I've ended up in a place somehow that's pretty good. Why would I change that?
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Phil, thank you so much for joining me. That was such a brilliant chat. Your story, your energy, the way you support others in the industry is super, super inspiring. And I know that our listeners are going to take loads from this episode. And to everyone tuning in, thank you so much for listening to Salon Stories. I'll be back with more chats from the heart of the hair and beauty industry really soon. And until then, stay inspired and I'll talk to you really soon. This episode of Salon Stories is brought to you by the Melissa Hayward Academy. That's me. If you're a stylist ready to level up your skills and finally take the leap into hair extensions, I would love to help. I've trained hundreds of amazing stylists all over Ireland and beyond, and seeing them thrive is honestly my favourite thing in the whole world. So head on over to melissahaywardacademy.com to learn more, or connect with me on Instagram or Melissa Hayward Academy on there.